What's up everybody? Welcome back to the Art of Crypto, the birthplace of absolutely legendary gains. In this video, we are going to talk about Cardano ADA and what I believe is going to happen next and how you will be able to take advantage of whatever that's going to happen. So if that's something you're interested to find out, make sure you stick around to the end of this video. And before I dive right into it, if you haven't already followed me on Twitter at _the Art of Crypto, you're going to want to do so. This is where I'm sharing any trades that I might not be putting on YouTube because it does take quite some time to make a video on YouTube. So if you just want to get the latest market updates, I'll be the most active on Twitter. So make sure you follow me there. So Cardano ADA, let's take a look. So in the previous video, I mentioned that if we were to come back to this block right here, make sure you get in. And for the people who got in, you would have gotten an instant 17-18% bounce. Now I know that that might not have been the bottom. So in this video, one thing that I will try to discuss is the possibility of catching a bottom on ADA in order to go into like a 3-month uptrend sort of thing. So if that's something you're interested in, we'll talk about that later. For now though, the first thing that we have to understand about ADA is by looking at the BTC chart. Now back then, I mean like in the private Discord group, I drew the path that ADA would take. And back then I was plotting out like ADA accumulating at the key block, right? This is on the private Discord group. I'll talk about that later, right? I won't bore you with that stuff right now, but check out the key block. We caught the exact bottom. And I believe in my previous video, I mentioned this as well. So for those of you who got in, at least ADA against Bitcoin, you would have caught the exact bottom. So now we have to figure out what's next. So as you can see, I have already plotted out this line right here, but this is only one of 2 scenarios that I am expecting to happen. So if we go onto the ADA BTC weekly chart, you can see that we have a bearish order block over here. And if I were to follow the conventional standards for how an order block works, I would have to extend all the way like from 4,700 Satoshis up to 5,800 Satoshis, which is a really wide range. So I'll go onto the daily chart and I'll narrow it down a little bit, right? But give or take, it looks something like this. So basically what this bearish order block tells you is, for starters, right, order blocks give you an area of value where institutional traders, such as hedge funds or whatever, and the market makers as well, it gives you an area of value where this is an area of untapped liquidity that the market makers like to push the price to, just like over here. We go back onto the daily chart, you can see that this right here is a bullish order block. Notice how the price always tends to find a bottom exactly within the bullish order block. And this is just the power of understanding what these market makers are doing. And if you haven't already, like the sooner you understand that the markets move because of these algorithms from these market makers, the better, right? Then you'll be able to start trading with them instead of against them. So coming into this bullish order block, you see that you find an exact bottom over here. And then right now, I'm showing you that there is a bearish order block right here. In fact, this is quite a major one because it is existing on the weekly chart as well. But if it was me, I would narrow it down just a tiny bit, right? Down to a 10 to 15% range. So if we zoom back into the daily chart, this is how it's going to look like. So what this is telling you is that the first scenario, rather than it going just pumping straight up, what I'm expecting to happen, what I'm most certain, like 80 to 90% certainty will happen, is when we get into this block, when we get into the vicinity of this block, which is right at about 4650 Satoshis, and don't worry, I will translate this over to Cardano against USD later. But for now, let's focus on the Bitcoin chart because it's like every chart sort of looks the same right now in terms of USD. So the Bitcoin chart gives us a clearer picture of what's going to happen. So when we get here, 100%, like no matter how big of an ADA maxi you are, I'd be looking for a short, at least for a temporary short. This short is likely going to get rejected by like 10 to 15%, maybe even 20%, right? It is not out of the ordinary for that to happen. So instead of plotting it like this, what I would do is I would plot it like this, bam, 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 right? Give or take, something like this will happen, right? So let me explain my thought process. And let's see, yeah, that's right at about 20%. I promise I'm not making this stuff up, right? Because right now we are getting this as a temporary top, right? I don't think that we will be coming back up to this level in the next 14 to 15 hours. If we do, then disregard everything that I said. But right here, you have a bullish order block, okay? So in the event, I'm giving you the first trade idea right now, which is that if you do come back to 3150 Satoshis, right? 3150 Satoshis, this is going to be a long entry, right? You enter at 3150 Satoshis place your stop at 2,900 Satoshis. Now, I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just sharing with you how I would approach this. Okay, not financial advice. So if you were to come back down here, this is the trade that I would take for a long. As for the target of the long, I'm going to target this bearish order block right here, because this is an area of untapped liquidity. This is an area that price is going to be drawn to because these algorithms are repricing things. And, simply put, the liquidity exists there. So that's where they will target. Of course, if this one gets stopped out, then that's going to be a different story. I'm going to talk about that one later. Let's keep it to one thing at a time, right? Which is this scenario. Go long here, come to here, take your profit, flip short, and then come to wherever this high is, right? Like in the event that we do like just go above, 3880 Satoshis today, then this is not going to be the top. So what's going to end up happening is you're going to get a candle that has, potentially something like this, right? If that's the top, you move that to where the top is, right? That is going to be the target for the short, because again, you need to understand that once you form this top here, what's likely going to happen is this is going to become a bullish order block in the future, right? In the future. So just painting a picture of how I would approach this. And then after you take your profit off the short, then you would go long again, right? Of course, granted that nothing changes. So that was the first scenario. That is the bullish scenario. No, that is the bearish scenario. So right now we have to look at the bullish scenario. So if you take a look at ADA against Bitcoin since basically 2018, for the last 4 years, basically, you have been forming a cup and handle, right? Massive cup and handle. And for those of you who are familiar at all with technical patterns, you understand that this is a really, really, really bullish pattern. In fact, it is one of the most bullish patterns, and it is a pattern that I love to trade a lot. And again, I caught the bottom here. We expected something like this to happen, okay? And it just goes to show you the power of bullish order blocks, or just understanding how these institutions like to trade. And if you might be interested to take a deep dive into how these institutions like to trade, I'm just going to shield this for a little bit, but I do have a trading course where if you just want to dive deeper into this and understand how to trade like they do, check it out. In this private Discord group, you are also going to get access to all of the market updates as well as any trades that I might be looking at that I don't share on YouTube because, again, it does take quite some time. So if you just want to follow along with the trades, this is going to be where you can do this, as well as all the market updates, so that basically you don't get caught off guard by any moves in the market, right? If there's one thing I'm good at, it's telling you when to be careful and when you can go balls deep into opening trades here and there. So if that's something you're interested in, check out the link in the description below. We're basically making money every single day, and chances are you're going to pay this out. Like, it's probably going to pay itself off really quickly. I'm just saying. So again, if you're interested, check it out in the link in the description. Now back into the video. So talking about bullish patterns, cup and handle right here, assuming that this is going to be the, how do you say it? The lip of the cup, right? Then the measured move, once you do break out of this pattern, is going to be right at about 13,800 Satoshis and 17,000 Satoshis, which would put ADA basically at give or take $6 to $8, right? Am I saying that's going to happen? Give me a moment, right? I'm going to translate this over to the USD terms. But for now, let's pay attention to this one. But that's assuming that we will get here in the first place, right? What if we don't? So this is the other scenario that I wanted to talk about, and why I really want you guys to take your profit if we do get to 4650 Satoshis. If you take a look on the weekly chart right now, you can see the semblance of some kind of heads and shoulders pattern forming. For all we know, this could be the third shoulder, and we're just going to go down from here, right? At the moment, I find it hard to be on macro terms bullish on ADA, just at the moment, right? This could change in 2 months, and by that time I will definitely make another video. But at least for now, you have just a classic Wyckoff distribution pattern sort of forming, right? Where this is the first peak, this is the second one, this is the third one, and then usually the fourth one tends to be a lower high, and it tends to come at a bearish order block. Now, just to prove that I'm not making this stuff up, let me just go back to Bitcoin, right? I drew this out like a long time ago, probably 2 to 3 months ago. I did not change it whatsoever. That's your peak, that's your pattern right there. So if I go onto the daily chart, you guys can see this a little bit clearer, right? That's your first one, okay? That's your second, that's your third, right? At the moment, if we were to follow this exact schematic, then ADA is going to make a high first before going down. So I don't think that we're going to be following this schematic. So what I think is going to happen, that's 1, 2, 3, and then you come up. Check out check out where the top is right here before we start going down, right? It is a bearish order block right here. So I'm not making this stuff up, right? These institutions, they like to leave clues. The sooner you can learn to spot these clues, the better off you're going to be. That's a bearish order block. So, chances are this is something that's going to happen, right? And then you're going to go down to target the liquidity that is below. In my opinion, the bottom is probably going to come somewhere between 2,000 Satoshis and 2,200 Satoshis, right? Or, God forbid, we might even go all the way down to 1,800 Satoshis. So do not discount this scenario from happening. Now, that is my hot take on Cardano ADA and what I think is going to happen over the next probably 30 to 60 days. So you guys are fully prepared for this. So let's translate this over to USD terms. So at the moment, in USD terms, if we were to get back to this level right here, this is a bullish order block, okay? Because you have broken market structure and you have a very clear level of imbalance right here where there is basically no price action over here. So that's an imbalance as well as you get a bullish order block right here. So just like in ADA BTC, if you get back to $1.36, right? Let me just mark this down for you guys. If you get back to $1.36 and $1.32, that's going to be a long entry with a stop loss at 1.2, just translating it over from the Bitcoin chart. So that's going to be entry number one. Now, what about the bearish, that bearish order block that I was talking about? Now, when I say that it is not as clear on the USD chart, and that's why I was using the BTC chart, I mean it. So in this case, the bearish order block is going to come somewhere between $1.9 and $2, right? Although that might not necessarily add up, because if we go back to the BTC chart, you can see that it's give or take about a 30 to 40% pump. So yeah, actually, yeah, it does line up. So that's going to be the area that I'm going to be looking to take some profit off, like definitely some profit off, right? If we manage to hit 1.9, I'm going to be taking some off there. And if we hit 2.35, I am 100% taking all my profit and running at the moment. It doesn't matter if it goes higher. I'm happy to miss that. I'm happy to miss that train if it really does go higher. But what I don't want to do is be stuck holding bags while it's coming down because I bought the top or something, right? So that's just how I approach the markets. You can feel free to do the same. I'm just telling you what I myself would do. So that is translating it over to the USD chart. Now, when we mention that we want to look for a potential bottom, right, we're probably going to have to bring up order flow. And that's exactly what I'm going to do. So this right here is the ADA order flow chart, right? This is on a 3-day perspective. You can see that within this 3-day chart, you can see that there is 3 naked pointer controls over here on the order flow chart. What does that tell you? Is that you are very likely going to run into very heavy resistance. So let's go on to the 3-day chart. You are going to very likely run into very heavy resistance at 1.7, right? Give or take 1.7. This is based on a 0.05 sort of increment. So you could definitely dive deeper into this. So what this order flow is telling you is that when we get to 1.7, give or take 1.7, there is going to be a lot of retail traders that are probably going to go long there thinking that it's a breakout, whereas it is actually a naked point of control. So what's going to end up happening is the market makers are probably going to trap everybody and dump it, okay? So if you do get to 1.7, pay attention for a rejection. Now, moreover, to give more confluence to my previous theory about this being a very significant level of resistance / a top, check it out, right? 2.05 is a naked point of control on the 3-day chart. So if you get to 2.05, which is this key level of resistance here, definitely take your profit and run, because I'd rather you not take the risk. You get what I mean? So besides that, we could jump in to a lower time frame to potentially check out if there are any points of support that we can take advantage of. And in this case, it comes in at 1.15, give or take. So that is definitely lower than this order block right here. So this is proof that perhaps this order block might not hold. But in my experience, taking trades on daily, especially daily order blocks, has always been a net positive, right? The win rate is always positive, sitting somewhere about 60% to maybe 70%, probably not 70, so close to 60. So it's still better than a coin flip, but still, it is a trade that I would still be willing to take, right? Just because of the odds. But yeah, we don't have confluence from the 1-day order flow. So I hope I have covered everything that you need to understand about ADA, at least for the next 60 to 90 days. And if you want to understand what's going to happen to Bitcoin and where to find the exact bottom for Bitcoin, you're going to want to check out that video that I'm going to link on the top right hand corner. It's a really good video in my opinion, and hopefully it will be of help to you. Highly recommend you check it out. And for those of you who are still sticking around to the end of this video, don't worry, I will make the Litecoin video as well as the Chainlink video in the next upcoming couple of days, maybe 3 days. But if you're still sticking around and you want to help out the channel a little bit, please comment down in the comment section ADA. It's a really small gesture, but it really helps the YouTube algorithm out a lot. Again, it's a small gesture, but I'd be immensely thankful if you could do that. For now though, if you enjoyed the video, make sure you give it a like. But for now, may the gains be with you, my friends, and